Greetings gamers, my name is Anto and today we're going to be taking a first look at the map building tool Dungeon Alchemist. Now if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I am all about finding new tools to make my life and your lives as game masters easier, and we've looked at a bunch of map making tools in the past, but Dungeon Alchemist is one that I've had my eye on for a while now. They had a Kickstarter that was really successful and I've been keeping an eye on him and finally thought it's time to take the plunge. Now the thing that attracted me most to Dungeon Alchemist is the procedural generation of rooms. From what I've seen of it, you draw the shape of a room, you click what type of room you want, and then it just fills it with objects appropriate to that space. And if that works, that's going to make making maps so much faster. So without further ado, let's dive into it and take a first look. This video is sponsored by the Kibbles Compendium of Legends and Legacies, now on Kickstarter. More on them later. So here we are in Dungeon Alchemist, and when you first load up, you're going to get a canvas and you're going to get this little prompt that tells you how to build rooms. So it says click and drag on the map to select tiles, drag over additional tiles to make any shape that you want, and then click the check mark to confirm or cross to start over. Okay, got it, let's go. So we're going to start off, and I think what we want to do is we want to go for a classic tavern to begin with. Something simple, something ubiquitous, something that we're going to be able to use in any campaign. So I can see on the left here that we've got a draw rooms tool, and that gives us a bunch of different location options, one of which is tavern. And then we get the option to choose between different room types. I assume that's going to give us different objects generated in them, but we're going to start off with random, and we're just going to start by drawing a basic box and see what we get. So it goes, it works away, and then it gives us some rooms and walls. And what have we got here? So we've got kind of a back room here that's got barrels and a little still, and it's given us torches on the walls and windows on the doors. It's got that classic kind of plaster and timber look of a tavern, and immediately, like, I would be pretty much happy with that room. I think I might want to move the still, but I'm sure we'll be able to move that in a little bit. But that's a great starting point room. I don't think we need more detail than that in our room. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to move down here. We can see we've got a door here. So we're just going to build another room and see what connects onto that. So let's go bigger and hope that it gives us a bunch of tables and a bar and things. So let's see what we get. So we get a big old bedroom. Not necessarily what we want, but I know that you can change that. So you can see up on the left here, we've got a couple different options. We've got draw rooms, we've got remove rooms, and then we've got edit rooms. So if we click on this room here, you can see it brings up a new context menu, and we've got the tavern theme and the bedroom. Now I don't want a bedroom, I want a great hall. So let's click that, and it will immediately just regenerate this room, and instead of giving us all of the beds, it gives us a whole bunch of tables and a roasting spit, and perfect for a dining room. Now next we've got a door here, so I'd like there to be some kind of like regular tavern room. So we're going to go ahead and click on our draw room again, and we're going to hope that random gives us what we're looking for. We're just going to draw out a rough shape of a room, hit go, and see what we get. Now this gives us a kitchen. Again, absolutely fine. There's not really a lot going on here, so I would probably want to change this room. So again, we just click on the room we want to change, and oh, it's a latrine, not a kitchen. That makes sense. We want to change this. Let's change this to brewery and see what happens. So that gives us kind of a storeroom and a bunch of barrels and things. Or if we change this to a great hall, let's see whether we can get a bar. There we go. That's what we want. We want a bar. So here we'd have a fairly sized tavern. I'd probably want some kind of kitchen as well. So let's maybe go ahead and see if we can get something here to be a kitchen. So let's take another drawing tool and let's draw in here like this. And then we'll just fill in pretty much all of that space. And we're going to go and we're going to change this and see if we can find some options for a kitchen. So we've got mansion, kitchen. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to hit go and see what it gives us. Perfect. So it's kept the same kind of walls. It's given us a little bit fancier windows, but I'm sure we can change that. And then it's given us a kitchen and a door into the main area. So with just a couple minutes of work, we've got a massive tavern. We've got a little bar area. We've got a great hall where we could have big parties. We've got a storeroom for all of our beers and kegs and things. And then we have our kitchen. So let's go ahead and edit this and see what kind of power we have to change things about this. So over on the left here, we've got a place objects option. And if we go up to the top, have we got an edit option? We've got paint and we've got place. So if I click on objects, I can then delete them. So let's get rid of this roasting spit in the main room. And then let's go ahead and click on a couple tables. Let's see, we can't drag and click, but that is fine because we can place a table and then we can rotate it to be exactly where we need. And then we can do the whole thing. So if we grab the whole thing, that keeps all of the stuff that we've got there. Let's get rid of this. And then let's grab a table and we want to rotate it just a little bit. And we'll place that there. And then let's grab this table and rotate that a little bit. And then place that over there. And then we'll grab this table and we'll just duplicate it and put it here. And that gives us a little bit more of that bar vibe that we're going for. Then we'll take our piano and we can't rotate it through the walls, which is good to know. So we'll just rotate it around here and we'll move it and we'll place it against this wall. So we've got a little bit better space. We don't need a ladder and a staircase, so we'll just delete the ladder. This light probably doesn't need to be on the floor. So let's just get that up onto the bar top. Same with this candle here. And then with a tiny little bit of work, we've got our entrance, we've got our bar area, we've got the bar top, then we've got a door that leads into the kitchen. We probably want to duplicate our tables here. Oh, that's cool. It's added different information on the table. That's perfect. That allows us to really quickly and easily duplicate things and add new things. So let's get a couple of giant barrels in here and let's maybe have a look and see whether we've got some bags and sacks of grain that we can put in and just throw those in real quick. Spin us around here and put those there. Or maybe we'll move those over into this corner so that they're a little bit out of the way. That's great. And then ideally we would want a door here. So let's see whether we can do that. We can place doors and new doors, single doors, and just a regular door, I think is what we want. And boom, we can place it. That's perfect. And then we can do the same with walls. So I just want to go and find a wood wall. Is this what we're looking for? That's wallpaper. How do we paint walls? Change wall. We click on this. Let's see if we can change it to our plaster. Yeah. And then if we go to doors, have we the option to delete a door? Let's place a window and that will probably allow us to do it. So we want like square, wood window. Right, that replaces that. So let's see if we can replace it with just, there we go. We can delete doors. So that gives us our doorway. And then we've got a doorway into our kitchen. We've got a doorway into our storeroom and then a doorway into the great hall here. And with really very, very little work, we have made a tavern map. So this is currently existing in kind of a void space. It'd be nice to be able to give it some life. So let's go ahead and look at how we change the ground. So there's a whole terrain type. So we can change the terrain to grasslands. And elevation is going to be hills, mountains, flooded ravines, canyon. We can change what kind of elevation it has. So let's change it to flat. Give it some vegetation and let's give it some kind of lakeside and change the terrain. And boom, immediately we have changed all of the terrain. We've moved this to be a lakeside little tavern. So let's give it a river and see what happens. So you can see that this is bound to, I think, these little corner pieces. So this is bound to a specific size. And we've started to draw in the bottom left there. So river isn't working, but that is fine. We just change it to no water and hit meadow. And let's see what happens if we change it to hills. We get a little bit more variety, some more trees, and that's looking pretty good. We change back to our top-down view. You can see this is a much more interesting looking map, and it took us only a couple minutes to be able to get through. And then from here, we can change whether or not what kind of option we're looking at, whether we're looking at the side-on view where we can change things around, whether we are looking at a top-down view with no 3D element, or we can bring up those walls and give us a 3D element. And one of the other cool things that you can do using Dungeon Alchemist is you can go into first person. So if I change us into cinematic mode, we get a flyable camera and we can get right down into the terrain here and we can interact with objects. It'll open the doors and we can go in and it gives us this look. So if I place this camera in the corner here and pull it up a little bit, you can see we can use this to generate kind of images to be able to show the players. So if you had the players enter into a bar, you could give them kind of the view of the bar from inside, from the bartender's point of view, or if you wanted to take them into this great hall, you could give them the look of all the tables there, give them a real sense of what the space is. We can go through and open doors. You can also record video clips doing this. So you could record a fly through of a location, which would work. And it also helps you see when things are in the wrong place. So if we hit escape here, we can go and click into our object tool, and then we can move these things out of the way. Let's just not do that. Let's undo that. And let's spin around, and we want to close the door so that we can grab this object, move this over here, and move the still just so it's out of the way. You can also change the lighting, so you have the option of a sunrise scene, and you can see that it gives you skybox lighting as well, or we can go to sunset, gives us a warmer tone. We could go to midnight where everything is cool and dark, or we could go to straight overhead midday where we've got nice warm direct top-down lighting. You can also place a variety of tokens, so it comes preloaded with several Hero Forge hero characters. So we've got a barbarian, a bard, monk, druid, paladin, and sorcerer. Then we've got a small variety of options. We've got a gnoll, a lizard folk, a skeleton, a troll, and a kobold. And then we have a couple of NPCs. You can also link your Hero Forge account, so you can link your miniatures and import free miniatures into the scene. And then the thing that I'm most interested in about Dungeon Alchemist is being able to export it into Foundry. So if I go ahead here and hit the export button, file and export, you can see it will give me some options. We can export it into Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Universal VTT as an image or a print. So I'm going to click on Foundry. I want the perspective. I want those 3D walls because I think that's a really cool aspect of this tool. Then we have lighting, so we can render lights in image and export to VTT, or we can render it only in the image or only as lights to VTT. I'm going to stick with only as lights to VTT because the way that this works is it gives you two files. It gives you an image file, which you place into Foundry. Then it gives you a JSON file, which tells Foundry where all the walls and the lighting is. So if you turn the lights off, you don't still have the kind of area of effect of the light on the image itself. Then we get to select our image quality, our grid export size, the color scheme, whether we want the grid on or off. We'll leave the grid on for this one, what shape we want the grid, what transparency and color, and then we just hit export. We go ahead and name our image and then it will export out, and we're going to jump into Foundry just so you can see what that looks like. Today's video is sponsored by the Kibbles Compendium of Legends and Legacies. Get 4 new classes, dozens of subclasses, and hundreds of new spells in this 5th edition compatible book. Among the new classes included in the book is the Warlord, an update on the classic 4th edition class. This allows you to add extra attacks to your allies, buff your friends in combat with rallying cries, and make them more effective against your enemies. The Warden class is a primal force, able to tap into the elements or summon bestial claws or become immovable as the earth. The Occultist class brings witchcraft into 5th edition and includes options for shaman, oracles, and hedge mages. And finally, the Spellblade is a dedicated blend of fighter and mage, bringing magic and physical attacks to bear in a combination that allows you to cut your enemies down with magic infused use strike. The book also includes hundreds of spells, many new feats, and a whole bunch more. The material is based on years of design and hundreds of hours of playtesting from the Kibbles Tasty community, and the content is available as a physical book, a PDF, or your choice of VTT, choosing between Fantasy Grounds and Foundry. The project is live right now, and you can support it by clicking the link in the description below, and thanks again to Kibbles Tasty for supporting the channel. So here we are in Foundry. Here is the Jewel Cities of Talavar for my current campaign, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over to create a scene, then we're going to make a new scene. We're going to call this Tavern Test and hit create new scene, and then once that exists, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to hit import data and then choose the JSON file from my computer and hit import on that. That will import all our wall and lighting information. Then we want to right click it, hit configure, go to our background image and choose the image file that's exported from Dungeon Alchemist. And then once that's all loaded up, we can fire open that map and you can see immediately we have our map. Now this imports all of the features from Dungeon Alchemist. So you can see we had an open door, so it'll import the open door. We had it at midday, so it's imported that kind of directional lighting information, and it's imported all the lighting information from our scene. If I jump over into our wall tool, you can see that it's placed all of the walls and placed all of the doors and windows appropriately, so our players will have proper line of sight and proper vision for the scene. If we jump into lighting, you can see it's placed all of the lights in the scene as well. So if we go ahead here and transition this to darkness, just so those lights stick out a little bit more, you see it darken things down and you can start to see some of the light shafts coming out of the window, see them illuminating different parts of the scene, and we can go ahead and we can move those as we wish. And if we find an example where it's quite strong, you can see that we move that off and it doesn't stay on the scene below because we chose to turn that off in the setting. In the lighting tools within Dungeon Alchemist, we can also change the angle of whatever we want here. And we can also change how high up it is. Personally, I would probably change it so that it's really high up and lower the values a little bit, because that directional lighting that you get from hitting the walls can kind of break your immersion. It does give you cool shadows on the object, so I might only put it on a little bit and then move it around until I'm happy with the object's shadow casting. So we'll say like this, and you can see there's a little bit of shadow on everything, but it's not as egregious as it was. And then we can change and go through the settings like that and find a lighting that we want. So if we go ahead here, we can change our angle and just get a little bit of that shadow, and we get the warmth from the sunset mode or the cool lighting from midnight, but we can really play around with those shadows to make it look exactly how we want. So overall, I'm really impressed with Dungeon Alchemist. The thing that I will use it the most for is to generate those quick, rough and ready maps that I need for a location that isn't incredibly important to the story or that doesn't need an incredible amount of hand-placed detail. So that's going to be things like taverns, like small areas where we need a battle map, say inside a crypt or a dungeon. It would be perfect for generating dungeons. But then if we had something more bespoke, say a final boss battle, I'd probably go in and I'd hand place a lot more of these tools rather than relying on the procedural generation. But as a GM who has very little active prep time in the week, this is perfect for me to be able to get a good looking map that is specific enough to my needs. Let's say I need a particular style of map and I can't find one online. This is great to quickly generate something that works and looks good, but that I don't have to spend a long time placing individual assets. I'd love to know what you think of Dungeon Alchemist down in the comments below. And if you are interested in Foundry, which is the VTT that I place this into and which I use to run my game every week, I have a video going over that just here. But until next time, happy gaming.